Hey there, music fans. Welcome back to the Real Music Observer. This is Dave, observing real music in real time for real people, just like you and me. Talking about music today, and just music. I'm not talking about all the soap opera stuff that's going on via Twitter and all over the place. It's just not worth talking about. These people are trying to more or less bring me down and bring the people who watch these videos along with them. I'm not taking the bait. We're talking music this weekend. We're talking about the classic East-West concert series out on the West Coast at Dodger Stadium this weekend, both today and tomorrow. The big bands that are going to be there, it's quite a list. You can check it out for yourself, but the two big ones for me are going to be the Eagles and Journey. Eagles especially for me is going to be an interesting concert because they're going to debut both Vince Gill and Deacon Frey. And as a fan, I'm actually a little bit more interested in hearing what Deacon Frey sounds like. I already know Vince Gill, and I've been, I want to say critical, but I've actually taken the Eagles to task a little bit for finding a replacement who sounds more like Tim Schmidt or Don Henley than someone who sounds like Glenn Frey. Now, I've had the opportunity to listen to Deacon Frey now, videos though that are about 7 years old, mostly on YouTube, and the dude has he has a very versatile vocal style. He's got a really unique sounding voice. I'm trying to hear elements of his dad, though, within his voice. Can he carry a song? Can he sing Peaceful, Easy Feelin'? I know they've already announced that Vince Gill is going to be singing, I believe he's singing like Lion Eyes and Heartache Tonight. And it's just, here's what I'm hoping for. It's on the West Coast, right? So I'm hoping that maybe some of these old school California musicians come out, not to necessarily help the band, but maybe take some of the pressure off. Don Henley talks about all the pressure going out there with this new lineup, and I will agree with him. I think there's a ton of pressure on the Eagles to live up to their reputation because a lot of people, including myself, were a bit surprised when they said they were going to continue on without Glenn Frey. I just think that was too much of a blow. That's like the Beatles without John Lennon. It's not going to work. I mean, you could throw Julian Lennon up there to sound like John Lennon and say, hey, it's John Lennon's son and we're the Beatles and we're continuing on. But you're going to find that a lot of people would just say, look, this is just too big of a hole to fill. These are shoes that are too big to fill. And I would agree with this. But I am still very interested to see how this goes off. I mean, Vince Gill, I think the reason they brought Vince in is it takes pressure off the rest of the guys, and in essence it throws it over to Vince Gill a little bit because he's the new guy in the band, and he lobbied to be in the band, and he's also got rock star cred, but he's got more country cred than rock star cred. If you know his pedigree, he was in this little band called Pure Prairie League long time ago, and sang a tune called Let Me Love You Tonight with the band, and that was post Amy and Fallen in Love, if you know those songs. So he comes to this with a lot of credibility, but he comes to this with a completely wrong vocal. I mean, he can sing harmony great. His voice, I'm not criticizing his voice, I'm just saying it's the wrong voice for the job. Glenn Frey had a more, he had a deeper voice, he had a different sounding voice. At times in the early days, he almost had like a soft rock nasal twang kind of voice. As his career progressed, he got heavily more into soul and R&B stuff. Just listen to True Love or any of the stuff he came out with in the 80s, and all that stuff is sort of bathed in R&B and like a Motown Stax Records kind of sound. And that's what Glenn loved, you know, if you really dig into his history. That's the music he grew up on. He's a Detroit boy. And, you know, so this is going to be an interesting concert. Irv Azoff, who pretty much runs the show, this was his dream concert, to have all these bands. One of the bands that is going to be a surefire winner is Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, everywhere this band goes and performs, they kill it. They knock it out of the park. If they're on tour with Chicago, they end up not stealing the show, but people are just raving and ranting about how amazing they are. They are just a sort of a primal force that a lot of people sort of just kind of, it's Earth, Wind, and Fire. And yeah, if you're not into funk and R&B, these guys just merged everything. I think if Jimi Hendrix were alive at the peak of Earth, Wind, and Fire, he would have approved, and I think he would have shown up for a gig or two, because these guys just, they've got so much energy, and they typically do a concert where your expectations are completely blown out of the water. But getting back to the Eagles, again, if you're an Eagles fan, you got to wonder still. No invite to Don Felder. I know Felder's on tour with the United We Rock thing, but these are two dates that I think he could have probably arranged, you know, to be there. You know, he probably could have taken the weekend off this weekend. And of course, at the end of the month is the East Coast show at Citi Field. And look, if you're going to, you know, sort of just throw away the past in a sense and try to move on, which I guess Don Henley doesn't want to do, I would think a Felder invite would have just taken even more pressure off the rest of the band and would have added more drama. But I know Irv Azoff, I think he's the guy who more or less didn't want Felder singing Victim of Love and probably thought Felder was a good idea, but probably sides with the remaining band members, although I know Joe Walsh and Don Felder are still fairly close. And to have them both on stage dueling guitars on Hotel California would be, you know, one for the archives again, but I don't think we're going to see it this weekend. Any other surprises? We are on the West Coast. Steve Perry, I believe, still lives up in San Francisco. Hey, if it happens, you could say you saw it here first. I doubt it would happen. Steve could come down, maybe, you know, sing a song or two, and then leave, and then the crowd would go crazy, and, you know, that would fuel speculation for a full-blown reunion with Steve. I don't think it's going to happen. It would be awesome. Fleetwood Mac, of course, taking the stage. The big drama around Fleetwood Mac is Stevie Nicks sort of holding the cards for the rest of the band, in a sense that Mick V and Lindsey Buckingham are out on tour supporting their new album, which probably should have been a Fleetwood Mac album. And now the band gets on stage again, and this could be one of the very last times the whole band gets out there. I think they are planning a tour for next year, though, so we'll see how it all pans out. The Doobie Brothers, obviously extremely reliable and great band, is also part of this, and it's going to be a great show. I mean, but the big drama here, the Eagles, what they sound like, how much does Deacon Frey channel his father, and will the Eagles live up to their reputation, which of course is perfection. I mean, they are a band that does gigs like the album. And that's been their reputation. They make sure the fans go home happy. And I am waiting for footage. So if you are going to the show and you got some video footage for me, maybe tomorrow, send it along, post it on YouTube, and I will talk about it once I get to see it. For the Real Music Observer, my name is Dave, just talking about music today. That's it. And we're going to stick to music, and hopefully it'll work out. We'll talk to you later.